think the way we're going to do this is I'm going to ask you all to say something at the top, just sort of around the topic that we're talking about, which is basically how do you maximize revenue in a converged world? Yes? So, Linda, would you mind going first? And just saying a few something? I'm just going to come over here and grab my notes.
I think from our perspective, we've always been about mobility. So the way that Metro looks at the world, it's a 14-year-old brand. It was 14 years old this year. The vast majority of our revenues come from print advertising. We're virtually 100% advertising funded. So for us, we don't really look at asking consumers to pay for content. We haven't done that for 14 years, so it's not really on our agenda to try and do that now in the digital world. For us, we were always about downtime. I think what the Future Foundation refer to as smart boredom, and I think that's what our brand has always been about. We've kind of captured that sort of smart boredom in the morning, in the commute, in cities, on the way to work. And we recognise that there are other moments of smart boredom that we're able to capture digitally. Our print product is still incredibly strong. We're not. It's one of the challenges actually is that our print product has its highest readership ever right now. Its circulation isn't in decline. Its readership isn't in decline. We have more 18 to 24-year-olds reading us now than we did 5 years ago.
But is that just because you're free, do you think? Or do you think it's because you've changed the mix a little bit more? I mean,
I think it's when we went free very originally, it wasn't about people not paying. It's the same thing as everyone's facing right now.
Yep.
It's about frictionless. For us, it was always about making the content. We knew the audience we were talking to wanted it easy, convenient, accessible, and that's what we were doing in print. And we use big data to optimize our logistics and our distribution. So we're very granular about how we make sure we get the copies into the hands of the right people. So that's how we're able to maintain that. And from a revenue perspective, print is obviously the predominant revenue source for us. But actually, what we're doing, the title of the conference is Changing Media. We're morphing our business from a largely print business into a multi-channel business around mobile. And the way that we see that being monetized will be through working with advertisers in partnership to work in a multi-channel way or choose our individual channels, as well
as... By channels, you mean new digital channels, right?
New digital
Whether
channels.
It's the iPad or the phone or whatever it might be. And you're talking about pay or not, yes?
We're not asking consumers to pay for content. Yet. That's you can have a free subscription to Metro today and forever on tablet.
Well, I think we should talk more about pay later because I think that's an interesting point that you've made. But Lewis, why don't you tell us a little bit about Forbes? Because you've had kind of an interesting approach to this, quite revolutionary, really.
Well, I don't know if it's that, but we're having fun.
You're having fun. Okay, good.
We're participating in both the disruption of the traditional news model as well as the disruption taking place in advertising. We have moved to a self-publishing model in the digital space where we've brought on 1,000 expert contributors to supplement our full-time staff reporters. And staff and contributors publish under their own brand names, building audiences around their names, and they are incentivized to build those audiences. We gave them the tools to do that. And at the same point, as we aggregate a larger audience, which we have over the last 2.5 years, we are giving the same tools to publish to marketers. And marketers are creating content on Forbes.com, transparently so, commingled with journalists and authors and academics. So Forbes.com has moved from a website to a full publishing platform for journalists, authors, marketers, the audience, to build a forum for communication for all three.
Now, how has that worked? Because there's been obviously some criticism about it, sort of, you're not having the wall between, the Chinese wall between editorial and sponsorship and advertising, and that's terrible, and, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you're ruining journalism. So talk to them a little bit about that, and also about, is there kind of, I think there might be often kind of a competition between the 1,000 journalists that are kind of out there incented to make lots of hits on whatever, Facebook or Twitter, and your staff guys. Do you feel like you've got two groups?
There are a lot of questions in that.
Sorry.
Well,
how's it working?
As far as how it's going.
How's it working?
It's working wonderfully. Our audience, as measured by ComScore, has gone from 12 million 2.5 years ago to 26 million last month. We have 24 marketers who publish content on Forbes, from Microsoft to Dell to UPS to NetApp to Oracle. And they are enjoying that, and we have interaction between the journalists and the marketers as well. And I think that the growth of our audience would indicate that we're producing a quality product. People only move to quality, they run from things that they don't like. So as far as competition between contributors and journalists, that's a great thing, and everybody likes it. And they just have to look at the data, the public page view counter, to know how they're doing. And they have a data dashboard that updates every 5 to 15 minutes, and they know how they're doing. And everybody's appreciating that competition, and we feel it leads to better content and content that the audience wants.
Very interesting. All right. Paul, talk to us a little bit about Bauer. What's your approach?
Bauer Media is in 16 territories around the world now. In the UK, we reach just over 20 million people through a magazine, a series of portfolio of magazines, radio stations, TV, business, digital assets, mobile sites, iPad editions. So the heart of the business, I think, has been producing outstanding content and selling that content on a weekly, monthly basis, or curating radio experiences and building fantastic audiences, which have held up brilliantly through the increase in all of those other entertainment channels. We've been taking our brands across platform for many, many years, and we've built really a TV business out of some of our music brands, and are in this transformation from a business which has launched a print product into a business which is treating print and digital equally. And that's a really significant and exciting transformation.
It's interesting because you have radio stations and you have television and print. So in a way, you were kind of different verticals anyway, and now you've been able to try to think about them as a more cohesive whole. Is that what you'd say, or do you still have these standalone vertical brands that work
We believe ultimately that each product has to be outstanding in its competitive product set, and then we need to articulate for our audience what that is and really understand our audience, and then take some of those elements where we can leverage the capability of the delivery device to extend the experience for the user. So we've kind of invested a lot in thinking about channel strategy and how we use each of these delivery devices to do a better job for our audiences or for our commercial customers.
So like radio, put it on the iPad, or you'd figure out how to do a streaming service that you could personalize or something like that. Are these the kind of products that you're talking about?
We want our radio services to be available everywhere our audience are.
Right. Because it's interesting, the prior session we talked about sort of added value, things you can do that you can charge for.
Yeah.
This idea that, even if you're a free publication, you might get into some kind of added value services. It seems like you're place for something like that.
I think so. I think you've got to, though, have an understanding of the audience and a dialogue of the audience so that you can make what they want. Right. Because clearly, the old model of making what you can selling what you can make feels broken. Yeah. Because you've really now got to understand in a very deep way what the experience that a user is going to have with that piece of content and deliver that.
Right.
Really
now I think about when I started in journalism many years ago, and it just wasn't like that. You'd sit in the meeting, the advertising people would sit in the meeting and say, what could we sell? It was just a very different conversation. So we've moved on from that, and we have to get into data, like Linda said.
Do you know, though, I still think there's a lot of value in the trust that we bring to the content that we deliver and the curation of the experience that our editors and our programmers deliver. Yeah. We will experiment with streaming services, but we still think that there's value to the consumer in that curated, packaged experience.
Right. Okay. So Michael, from your perspective, you've got a slightly different take on this from these people. What's been the Blinkbox's perspective? I don't know if you want to start with Tesco or how you want to talk about this, but it's all about sort of how is the content economics changing?
So if to your title, maximizing revenue in a converged world, let's just start with it's hard. right? I mean, as a starting point, let's not pretend this is, and it's not a destination, it's a journey, and it's going to take you a while to get there. But if I think about, how do you do that? Firstly, it's around the clarity of the customer proposition. So for Blinkbox, it's latest releases, no subscription. You want titles that are 18 months old, you go to Netflix. If you want the latest, you want to watch Argo, you want to watch Skyfall, it's on Blinkbox. So, because it's so competitive, you've got to be razor clear on what you're going to market with. And then with that clarity, it's a really simple, easy to use product. And now it's on multiple devices, it's not on a single device. And that sounds so easy to do. A really simple, easy to use product is an absolute pain in the ass and a bitch. And to create, yeah. And consumers don't care about right. Consumers don't care about how hard the technology is to make work. They just want it to work. All right, so you've got to do that. And the last thing is about focus, because if you're not all in the area you're going for, if you're spread too thinly, someone else is going to beat you for sure. So you've got to be really clear on where you're going to fight your battles and go all in to make it happen.
It's interesting because in your case, you're basically doing a VOD service, a video on demand service that you're offering through Tesco, and now I guess through the Tesco Club Card, there's 16 million of them in the UK, and so you can get involved in the Blinkbox experience. But it's interesting because it's sort of like, where does that fit into Tesco's, hierarchy of things? Is it kind of a loss leader like DVDs used to be in the store to try to get people in? Is it an added value service? Is it something they're actually going to make money on?
Sure. Well, it's strategic on two dimensions. Firstly, it's, Club Card TV it's a family entertainment channel that's free if you're a Club Card holder. Okay, so it's a loyalty benefit for the most profitable shoppers. You want to keep them happy, you want to keep them loyal in a world where there's a lot of competition. Yeah. And secondly, it's an interesting opportunity to engage with customers in the digital space. And Tesco's a food retailer. They're also the world's largest online food retailer, but they've got a massive non-food business that's moving online. And the strategic bit there is saying, how, as our customers move from our physical stores to our online stores, how do we ensure that they come with us? And these are the Blinkbox movie service is a great way to engage with them on tabs, on TV. We'll launch both music and book services this year. Club Card TV is another example. All of those things are hooks into customers in the e-commerce and in the digital world, and all of them, you have to look at that in the context of all the things that Tesco sells beyond food in the e-commerce space, and it's a big number.
Really interesting. Linda, when you look at this, or any of you can start chiming in on this, but I'll start with Linda. When you look at something like what Michael's doing, I mean, he's going to have TV, he's going to have music, he's going to have, you should be interested in music, he's going to have, what was the other one? Books? I mean, it's like, Amazon. It's all these other things. I mean, does a publisher, a class, like a Metro, do you have to think about other things? Or is it, loyalty programs, do you have to start offering, music concerts? Where do you go with this? Is this part of the future, do you think?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and I agree with Michael in terms of that kind of laser-like focus, and I guess the focus for us is around this sense of mobility and mobile. So we're not pursuing, big global UV numbers, we're pursuing kind of daily mobile engaged numbers. And also what we're doing as part of that is pursuing our engagement with our customers and the relationship that we have with our customers to allow us to do exactly that. So we've been experimenting with all sorts of things, and that's part of I think the culture that you have to have is a culture of test and learn, an agile approach to product development and your marketing and your kind of data development, really, in terms of just trying stuff, learning from it, moving on. And one of the things that we did before Christmas, for example, we did a joint venture and we trialed mobile commerce and mobile payments off the page in print. So we developed a mobile app that you had to register for, you had to put your credit card details in. We then had some content on the pages leading up towards Christmas that you could buy straight from the page. And we had over 1,000 people transact with us and spend money. And when you think of all the hurdles that we had put people through to get to that point, I think that's a great example of just some of the potential that's residing within our brand, and that's why we're kind of doing it.
How many readers a day do the Metro?
In print, we have 3.5 million
so 3.5
readers a day.
You got 1,000 people to sign up. That doesn't sound very good.
We got 3,000 people to sign up, but
okay.
about 1,000 transactions.
1,000 transactions.
To me, I think that's quite a lot. Within, I think we did it over a 2-week period. Oh. And as I say, in order to do that, you had to discover the app. Yeah. So you had to see our promotion of the app. You had to go to the App Store. Yeah. You had to download that app. You had to fill in all your details, including your credit card details. Then see within some of the products that we had tagged something you might actually want to buy, and we only did a small selection of products. Yeah. But personally, I think that's really encouraging. You know, if you
so what did you learn from that? You have to make it easier, obviously.
Well, I think what we learned from that is, you know, there's a lot of discussion right now about mobile payments and the ability to use mobile payments. We weren't doing it because we wanted to go kind of wholesale into that. Sure. I think what we learned from that was the willingness of people to want to try and do this kind of commerce interaction and the trust in our brand that they're willing to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we sell holidays off the page. Right. We don't ask them to do all that, and we sell quite a lot of holidays off the page. Right. So it's just in that spirit of how you can understand the dynamic of the relationship that people have with your brand, and how far you can really stretch that without losing the focus that Michael referred to.
Who wants to come in? Louis? Yeah.
We're just very focused. We're a 96-year-old company that has had a very strong brand. And the idea is, how do we take our brand and how do we put it across platforms, desktop, print, mobile, tablet, one by one, create a very fluid branded experience for a generation, and we're very cognizant that a generation of people out there is probably more in sync with our brand than ever before. People in America don't even want to go to college now, they just want to be an entrepreneur. So the entrepreneurial capitalism of Forbes is something that we're very focused on that brand. The real trick for us right now is how do we not just monetize our content, which we're doing through a different kind of program, but what most media companies are not attacking is you need to produce quality content at scale, and you need to do it efficiently. If you can't do it efficiently, the monetization rates of CPMs and what they are across tablet and mobile, it's just not going to work at all, ever. So we are creating that content at scale, at quality, that enables us to run a newsroom that fits in the world of mobile CPMs instead of a world of print CPMs. And when we aggregate an audience and aggregate marketers talking about it, that's exactly what we're focused on. We don't chase all the bright, shiny objects that everybody else chases. We just go right down. That's what we do.
Have you found that the cultural shift has been tough? I mean, have you had to, you know, let's say weed out certain journalists or change systems, or has the addition of the 1,000 curated folks sort of added that stimulus that's changed the?
Let's be very direct about this. The media business starting in 2008, 2009 was a train wreck. And it still is, in most cases, a train wreck. But at Forbes, people realized very quickly, if we dig this hole any deeper, we're not going to get out of it. Yeah. So there was very little resistance. There was skepticism, but there wasn't resistance because people were afraid if we do it the same way, there'll be no jobs for any of us. Yeah. So let's change. So everybody changed. You get a few wins under the table. And now everybody forgets that skepticism of 2 years ago.
Interesting, yeah. Paul, what's your experience? He's talked about, we don't do the bright, shiny things. We just focus on the cost. But what do you think?
Well, I think there's interesting development here with retailers, be they bricks and mortar or click-based retailers, getting into media, because they can see that if they could build the same engagement that media companies and media brands have with customers, they can get some deeper relationships and some differentiation and more loyalty. And media companies are saying, well, look at the trust that our brand imbues, and look at the development that the business has and our skill at navigating people through choices and the good stuff. And we could leverage that trust into e-commerce perhaps and retail. I think that when you get there into that e-commerce and retail, success, as Mike was saying, is all about the quality of your execution and the respect with which you treat the conventions of that industry. Because if you're getting into retail from a media background and you're going to take the product risk, you're going to find very quickly that the economics of that are extremely challenging.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be clear about where is it that you add value for the consumer and how do you deliver that. I think what Lewis is talking about is a way of making economic sense of an advertising-funded digital business.
Right.
Because if you approach it with a traditional cost structure, I don't think you can sustain it.
No.
And what I think Lewis and Forbes appear to have done is found a way of sharing the content creation, the product creation process, with a whole panoply of experts, and then curated that in a way which makes the experience really coherent and relevant. And that's really interesting. And I think Linda succeeds, or free media succeeds, if they don't come to the free media platform with the traditional cost base that perhaps a rival competitor might come at. So I think you've really got to think about the whole of the value chain and where you want to play in it and what cost structure you want to approach it with to make it work.
Sorry, just to say, Paul, thank you. I think one of the things we did start with is a revenue model, but it's a business model. And you need to have the business model in terms of the cost structure that supports the revenue model. The good thing about us not having consumer revenues for cover price or for content means that not only we've shaped the business with that in mind, but actually we have a culture. We have a culture that supports, necessity being the mother of invention, agility, nimbleness, and using creativity to work round problems. And that's one of the things that we're leveraging as we're moving into this digital space, which helps enormously.
I suppose I would disagree because I think that consumers still value content more highly that they pay for.
You do?
I think they are engaged more with content that they've actively selected and there's a financial transaction around it, which is overt.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that
it's interesting.
that sustains businesses, and we're going to launch print product. We're launching
great-
print product around the world.
Yeah.
This is why, Forbes magazine still has 900,000
Right.
subscribers, and
And they
they pay not 50 cents an issue for that. They pay the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there are a lot of rates, but and whether it's purchased on the newsstand or purchased for print, paying for something does still matter. And as we move to a tablet world, we're charging for a tablet experience. We don't have a paywall on our website, but we understand very well that you have to pay for something. So as we move our magazine to the tablet, there is a price for that.
The only thing I would say to that, sorry, is just Metro in print has always been about self-select, so no one forces it into your hand. You go, you take it. So there is a level
Although
of
I've
demand.
had experiences on it too where it has been.
Yeah.
Here, take this.
Yeah, from readers, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But if you have a look on Apple's newsstand and you look at there are thousands of reviews of Metro's tablet edition on Apple's newsstand, and it is averaging a 4.5-star rating. And 75% of those reviews, and it's thousands, it's not tens, it's not hundreds, it's thousands, have given the Metro app a 5-star rating. So I think there's a quality measure that we're increasingly now got visibility of, that perhaps to the point about people might think, oh, well, is free print as valuable as paid for print? We're seeing in that sort of ecosystem in the tablet editions, people voicing their appreciation of the quality.
Lewis, there's been a controversy about whether your digital edition should cost less than your print, or should it cost more than your print, or should you bundle them together? I mean, there's been a lot. There seems to be all kinds of
because our website is free.
Right.
We just launched a tablet app at the beginning of the year for the mag. Because we weren't sure how we wanted to do it, and finally we figured it out. And when we first launched, you had a magazine subscription, and even if you had the magazine subscription, you had to pay a separate price for the tablet. And we did quite well with that. But since then, we're trying some tests where, I don't know the exact price. If you have a magazine sub, for $10, you can get the tablet too. And I haven't seen the results of that. But, it's all... Everybody's experimenting. You're experimenting. You're experimenting. Anybody who's out there is not experimenting will not survive. It is just that simple.
Paul, because you were talking about, how some of these, what Linda's doing and what Lewis is doing. When you look at what Bauer's doing, are you thinking about, different kinds of paywalls or different ways in, or charging more or less for your iPad app, or how do you sort of think about all that going forward?
We're charging the same price for the iPad product as the physical print product. We intend to bundle a subscription and offer it at a comparable price. And we're trying to focus our product on an iPad app which only delivers highly relevant bells and whistles. So when we took the Grazia to iPad, we kind of threw away all the kind of amazing things that we might do and just say we're going to enable an iPad reader or user to share, to shop, or to save. Right. And that would be the product, and the product would be beautifully rendered and delivered. And I think that was a fantastic kind of focusing effort to just say, we're going to go on this new platform.
It was this bit.
It's the print product, but we were very wary about overloading the experience with fireworks and flashing bells and whistles that don't really augment the experience. But we're in the very early days, I think, of this iPad. And these products feel to me, not so much the Grazia one, but other products feel to me quite transitional. It feels as if we're in that sort of, TV's just been invented and we're filming the radio actors reading the script. Because we're not really leveraging the capability of the device, and we're not deconstructing the form of a magazine or a printed product and saying, why don't we use the availability of the device knowing where you are, or what the time is, or what you're doing, or what your online experience has been, to really start to augment the quality of the content or the quality of the experience. And I think cracking that and fusing really great product people and really outstanding technologists is probably one of the really huge organizational challenges that we all face.
Lucy, did you want to come in, or can I go?
No, I find it fascinating when we were talking before that you started all this video on the desktop before TV, correct?
For Club Card TV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, right now, it's interesting. If you look at Blinkbox, and our business used to be 100% PC. Then you had Xbox, you had tablet. So the PC is absolutely flat. All the growth is coming from TV-based viewing and tablet-based viewing, but the TV is still a really big part of usage.
The PC, you mean?
Sorry, the PC is still a big part of usage. And if you look at the target audience for Club Card TV, which is a free family entertainment channel, it's still their primary device. So we build there, and we'll roll out to Android and to other devices. But you start with one and you roll out from there.
See, in our business, it's not the desktop any longer. It is mobile, and it is not the tablet. It is the smartphone. And monetizing that experience on the smartphone is one of the great challenges of the news business today.
Sure.
And you cannot do it with a little rectangle turned into a little square that a fat finger goes to. It's just not going to work, right? So this is our challenge right now.
We got involved in this program of digital startups called Collider 12, and we saw 15 pitches for sort of 10 places. It's like an accelerator program. And I think of the 15 pitches that we saw, more than half were in that, how do we kind of commercialize that mobile experience?
Right. Well, one of the things, and this is why I think I'm often saying that on the smartphone, the headline is the new banner ad, because that's how marketers are going to reach in a smaller experience. They're going to have to reach customers through headlines, because that's why people go to news sites, is for headlines on the smartphone. So how do you do that? Because you can't fit a rectangle, you can't fit a box. Video plays, but there's connectivity issues and everything else. So it's really breaking the mold on what an advertisement is, or what a marketing vehicle is on the smartphone.
It's also, how do people find it on a smartphone as well? You've got the whole Google, who's in between you and your reader, and how are they getting to you, and how
they're friends.
They're friends, or they're friends. I mean, it's a very interesting, the user journey, as people talk about. How do you control that? It's not like the old days, and you have to figure out how people are using it and how you control that, and then who gets the money.
What I find fascinating, I've been saying for a long time that technology is the new competitive advantage for companies, and I started out my first business in '98 with streaming video. It was called Atom Films. We were quite early. 64K. We weren't quite ready for video. But you can see the importance of technology, and just listening to you three talk about, at your level of the company, talking about the role that technology plays. When I was at Channel 4, technology were the guys in the basement, right? That you never let out and you didn't see anywhere. But in this world, it's a completely different skill set. And this bit about experimenting and learning to me, it all comes to, it all floats up to the CEO. And are they prepared to take on new ideas and do things differently and take on different teams? And the Tesco approach, they tried building, it didn't work. And they've had a new approach saying, okay, certain areas we're going to build, but others we're going to buy. We're just going to buy technology, and we're going to buy people, and we're going to lock them in, and that's going to be the approach. And if it wasn't for Philip Clark, who's the CEO of Tesco, I mean, he's driving the innovation and taking the risks, and gets that technology is a big part of the future. Yeah. And 3-4 years ago, a lot of CEOs would not have said that; it just wouldn't register.
I think to that very point, I think we're building an integrated media business and approaching clients with an integrated offer, but recognise that we need to get further ahead in the digital space. So investments in Collider 12, we've invested in a really interesting social commerce business which is in the parenting market, and we're kind of actively looking to work with digital companies
to get that DNA in your company
to learn. Yeah. Not to run it,
no.
to learn and to understand it, and to bring some Bow Magic, which is about reach and about our ability to bring products to market successfully and commercialize them. So we need to do both. We need to digitize our existing business and get exposure to new thinking all the time.
I guess, and from our perspective, from a technology perspective, what we've done is focus all of our in-house dev teams on that front-end customer experience. So whether it's all the back-end systems, we introduced a new content management system last year. WordPress, we're the biggest WordPress VIP customer in the UK now. It's a really easily usable, accessible. In days gone by, we'd had our own in-house content system. Yeah. So it means that we can focus everything on the customer. And I think our session's about content, but it's this sort of interaction between product and content that's part of what this is all about. And taking some of the learns from some of your product suites. So to the smartphone discussion earlier, what we saw with our additionalized content on tablet and smartphone was that if we got people past page 4 of the swipe, then they would go on to, read, 60% of them would go on to read the entire edition. So when we were looking to launch our mobile optimized, responsively designed mobile optimized site.co.uk website, the challenge for the dev team was, can we do swipe on the website? And they developed it, and now we have swipe on our website. So one of the things that then allows us to do is say, okay, so how can we, to the monetization challenge, how can we create formats that advertisers might want to use? And one of the things we've been looking at is the development of interstitial ads or different styles of formats that now can sit within a swipe environment on a smartphone that you wouldn't have been able to do if it was just a banner button environment.
Very interesting. I want to open up to questions so we can turn the lights up. If anyone has a question for our panel, please put your hand up. Is there one? There's one here, and there's one there.
I was interested, Michael, if you could share.
We need a mic for this man here. Sorry. Do you have a second mic? No? Obviously not. Sorry. I do apologize. There you go. It's right there. And then you'll be next.
I have a question to Michael about, I guess, that you're investing in the company and not getting the revenues out of this as being a sort of red figure area, or could you share the economics behind it?
So the two different businesses that are live right now are Clubcard TV, which launched about 2 weeks ago, which is an ad-supported family entertainment channel, and Blinkbox, which is an on-demand film and TV service. Both of those businesses are still losing money. Both of them are expected to make money. The question is, how big's the divot before you come out the other end? And that's really a function of, the big costs really are about marketing in many ways now. If you build great technology well, which I'm hoping our guys do, it comes down to a fight for marketing. Because just because you build it does not mean they will come, right? And the great fallacy, they won't come, right? Because there's so much demand on people's time. And that, to be honest, is why I sold Blinkbox to Tesco. Because 60 million club card holders, 20 million people a week through the store,
that's marketing.
Yeah, so we will grow the businesses into profitability.
It makes it put you on equal footing with like a Netflix. You know what I mean? Whereas Blinkbox was small, Netflix was this monster. It's suddenly you're a Tesco, so you have much more marketing clout. Yeah. Does anyone else want to talk about digital revenues or no? Okay, right. Here we go. Yes.
It's a question for Linda. Obviously, your product is almost synonymous with the sort of daily commute. Do you see the increasing ubiquity of free Wi-Fi on the tube network B-Sky, Beast Cloud, etc., as a challenge, insofar as that's sort of competing eyeballs looking on a connected device rather than print, or do you see it as an opportunity for yourselves?
I think from our perspective, we definitely see it as an opportunity, but that's not to be complacent about what the impact of that might be on kind of print consumption. So Virgin launched their service on the underground for the Olympics, and from that point, because we've got the granular data on station sort of copy pickup, we right from the outset monitored every station that Wi-Fi was available, and we saw no impact whatsoever on our copy consumption. And I think one of the things, I don't know if you've ever tried to use it, but I've certainly tried to use it. It's really difficult to use. And it's not necessarily because of the experience that Virgin are delivering in that instance. It's just the amount of time that you've got, because as you're moving through a station, you're in a hurry. And the amount of dwell time, even though if we're all waiting for a tube, it might feel longer, the amount of dwell time you actually have to think about getting your phone out and doing all that is quite short. And also, you know, for us, you know, you've got, I think it's something like 55% of London Underground train tracks are above ground anyway. So we're not really seeing that impacting our print consumption. But what we are thinking is, okay, as we develop our mobile product suite and our tablet product suite, if that gives people the opportunity to interact with us on the move, or indeed use their phone with print, which is to the experimentation around the pay ad, how can we get these two things to complement one another? That's where we're seeing it as an opportunity.
Another question? Okay, yes?
Hi, thanks. I'm Robert Andrews, and I'm interested in Forbes Brand Voice platform, just because content marketing is so talked about at the moment. But I was wondering how you're helping brands find ROI there, and what are the meaningful metrics around that? Like, are they the same metrics that matter to you as a content publisher? Is it number of readers? Is it the follows? I know the UPS Brand Voice has only 41 followers. And how does any of this change or not how you price that ad unit, that new format? Because do you price it? Is it performance based, or do you just charge a flat fee for access to the platform?
Lots of questions. We provide a lot of metrics to our partners in Brand Voice. There's what happens on Forbes.com, which they can transparently see every day, every minute, and we provide them their own data dashboards for them to do that. By the way, there is no impression commitment. I write a post, it rises and falls on the merit. A marketer writes a post, it rises and falls on its merit. Sometimes it's 500,000 views, sometimes it's 100. It is what it is. We also provide them metrics as to the off-site sharing of their content. We are partnering with we have about 20 different startup companies we partner with, and this particular company provides data to us and to the marketer of their tweets, retweets, likes, shares, all that content and how it's shared across. They get a measurement of that. They also get a measurement of the engagement of people commenting and everything else. So it's off-site and on-site that they understand. They pay, it's not impression-based, it's basically a site license, a monthly fee for a minimum of 6 months, and there's a couple tiers, but that's basically how it works. There was another question there, but I think I forgot it.
I think I did too. Was that good enough, Robert? Yeah? That's right, thanks. Okay, another question? Yes. Yes, go ahead.
How do you think your examples apply for a print paid newspaper?
How do you what, sorry?
How the examples they gave for each organization applied for a case of a print paid newspaper.
A print?
Because none of them are really a daily newspaper. So I want to know how the realities they're facing and the examples, the solutions they're finding could apply for a daily newspaper paid one.
Well, I think Linda can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I run Metro. It's part of a group. We have the Mail, the Daily Mail, Mail on Sunday, and Mail Online is part of our group. And for me, all of this stuff is there's no one size fits all. You have to kind of, the strategy for the individual media brand has to sit with that. You know, for us at DMGT, for the Mail Online absolutely sits sort of distinctly from the Mail newspapers business, if you like. It's not looking at paywalls. It's looking at scale. It's looking at, I think it's 117 million global uniques it was last month. So it's a scale global play to get scale engagement on a monthly and daily basis, and to monetize that through scale advertising revenue. So that's its play there. The Daily Mail in print has a very loyal readership. It's a very valuable readership. It's an older readership than you would see in Mail Online. So a lot of what we're doing over there is obviously they continue to pay cover price on a daily and sort of home delivered basis. They introduced a rewards scheme. So we have Mail Rewards, which again is a data-led approach to loyalty, where, and I think I saw some incredible, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of people a day input their unique number into this loyalty scheme. So we're doing that there. And that is driving the consumer revenues from paid for print. And sitting alongside that, our colleagues over at the Mail have recently launched Mail Plus, which is their paid for tablet subscription model on tablet. And I think that was launched on Apple just a few weeks ago, and it was on Kindle Fire before that. So you can see how even within the same group, we're kind of toggling to do the right thing via the models that we think are appropriate for the audiences that we're serving. And then collectively, one of the things we're talking more now about how we might be able to take to market solutions for advertisers that can actually knit together some of the assets from all of those.
Any other questions? Yes, sorry. Yes, went right down there. You were right in my blind spot. Yes, go ahead.
Lisa O'Carroll here from The Guardian. Paul, I have a question for you. You're a very significant magazine publisher. Could you talk a little bit about the digital revenues and also what your outlook is for print versus digital? You know,
talk about my what, sorry?
Digital revenues? What kind of revenues are you seeing from digital services and products? And what do you think the prognosis is for print products?
Well, we as a group believe that outstanding print products got a good life for the future, and multiple opportunities to extend that experience into other distribution channels and build deeper relationships with commercial partners, add value to them as well. We believe, though, that when you go online, you need multiple revenue streams, and we don't believe that singularly relying upon an advertising stream, actually, unless you get incredible scale, and unless you take a very big bet on the sustainability of online CPMs, actually might not pay back. So we believe that where we've got high trust brands and a really clear proposition, we can build multiple revenue streams which make digital assets financially and economically attractive, and will build for our brands, increased reach, engagement, and good profits for the future.
So you can't really split out how much you're making on your digital products? No.
I can, but I'm not going to.
You won't. We tried. Yeah. Anything else? Any other question? Oh, come on. These are like professionals at this. No more? Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you have one final word. I mean, what I kind of heard, I think Lewis's message was mobile, but if you've got one final thing that you think you really have to face going forward, what is the biggest hurdle to making this whole work? I don't know if Linda, you want to start. What keeps you up at night about this? Making more money in a converged world.
Sure. I think it's about we're organizing ourselves in a media owner perspective and product perspective, and trying to understand our customers. But our customers, our advertiser customers and their agencies, and some of the challenges that buy side has in terms of organizing themselves to buy as well. Yeah. And we shouldn't lose touch of that. We're all in it together.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lewis?
It is a 5-level chessboard out there right now. Yeah. And there's a US page view, there's an international page view, there's a Facebook page view, there's a mobile page view, there's a tablet page view. Each one commands a different CPM. Each one has a different level of engagement. And monetizing and figuring all that out and creating a low-cost way to produce the content for that's the 5-level chessboard that we think about 24 hours a day.
Very good. Paul?
For us, it's about continuing to produce outstanding content, but learning, all of our creatives learning about the context in which that content is going to be used. To your 5-level game of chess, I think, we now need to think about on which device, on which occasion, for what purpose.
Yeah,
so
maybe
that the
changing
content that we provide
Yeah.
really really adds value to the user.
In that device. It's almost like you have to design the content
at
fit
that
the
moment
device.
that it's being used for that purpose.
Yeah, and that takes another
You've got to
skill
think
set.
You've got to think it differently.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to think differently.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't know where, you're not as certain as where your product is going to be consumed anymore as you were before.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like the five-level chessboard analogy. I think, so what keeps me up is managing the tension between all the complexity that exists in your five-level chessboard, which will include devices, user interface, technologists, content, all of that, and the consumer's desire for simplicity. Because you've got massive complexity on this side, and on this side, we just want it really simple and easy. And managing that tension it keeps you up at night.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, this has been a really interesting panel. I thank you all. Could you please join me in thanking all these panelists, Linda Grant, Paul Keenan, Louis Dvorkin, and Michael Komish.